Currently running at Stasha Silverman Gallery is Portraits from Pre-War Japan. It's a collection of rare Japanese photographs from the 20s and the 30s. And here to talk about the exhibit is the curator himself, Mr. Ron Reeder. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Nancy.
Great to have you here. So these images, tell me about these photos. They're beautiful.
Well, what strikes me about these is that other than the fact they're wearing kimono and they're all Japanese, it looks like pictures from my family album and from your family album.
Right.
The same subjects: fat babies, weddings, selfies.
It is like selfies, except for different from how we do it now, of course.
Well, the problem back then, of course, was that photography was kind of a rich man's game. Everybody didn't carry an iPhone. So in order to get photographs, you had to have a fairly professional photographer come in and take them. The images range from extremely amateur stuff, which is out of focus and a little bit wonky, to images that have been taken by a professional, and there's everything in between.
These prints are made from found glass dry plate negatives.
Yes.
Now, let's start with, where did you find these things?
Well, long ago, 2005 in fact, my wife and I were in Japan in one of the temple flea markets, and there sitting on the ground was a guy with a box, and he had all these negatives in it. And I looked through them and I said, oh boy, I want these. But I couldn't figure out how I was going to get them home, so I passed them up. Got back to the States and I immediately contacted my friends in the antique business, and I said, look, if you ever see any glass plate negatives,
Yep.
grab them. So they have now been collecting for me, basically.
Kind of pulling them in. Tell me a little bit about that kind of technology, I guess.
All of these negatives that I have are glass dry plate negatives. So a sheet of glass was coated with a sensitive emulsion, but it was stable and you could carry it around for months and then expose it.
The printing process, I assume, I mean, it's you and Tyler Boley, who's a master printer. I assume it's a very complicated process. No? Okay. How does it work?
I take the negative. I put it on a flatbed scanner. Scan it. Nothing complicated there. Now I have it digitized. Take it into Photoshop. Well, Photoshop, you can adjust the tones, you can cure some of the spots and damage that's happened to it. You can make it look a little bit better, and then I send it over here to my inkjet printer and print it out.
And there it is.
And there it is. So
voila.
now there's nothing mysterious or esoteric about how the prints were made. Now Tyler, my good friend, he got involved in it because I needed some really big prints, and my printer is only yay big.
Right.
Well, so Tyler made the great big prints, and that's it.
Now you're drawn to these photos also for a personal reason. You lived in Japan.
Well, my parents, for whatever reasons, decided to go to Japan in 1949 to convert the heathen to Seventh-day Adventism. I don't think a whole lot of heathen got converted, but I, as their son, got to live in Japan from 1949 to 1955.
That's where you picked up photography, is that right?
Yeah, my dad, he was a photographer. He loved the gadgets. And he bought me a really crappy Japanese box camera, but he promised me if I could learn to load the thing and develop the film and produce one roll of perfect pictures, he'd buy me a real camera.
A real, quote, real camera.
A real 35 millimeter camera with a good lens and, you know.
When you look at this exhibit, and I know a few of those photos in the exhibit are yours, from two of them when you were a young person. When you look at the photos, what do you see? What do you feel about them?
When we went to Japan in '49, most of Japan was rural. You got outside the big cities, you could almost tell yourself you were back in Edo, Tokugawa, Japan.
Which was how long ago?
Started in the 1600s to about 1800s. Rural Japan hadn't changed that much. Well, these photographs from before World War II really have that nostalgic feeling to me. There's no plastic in them. The kids are wearing straw sandals. There's no rubber. Nostalgic, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's very, very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Well, they're beautiful photos. I'm so glad you put this show together. Portraits from Pre-War Japan runs now through April 5th at Stasha Silverman Gallery, and that is on Queen Anne Hill. Well, thank you so much for dropping by and for sharing your
Well, it was
work.
so easy.
It is easy, see? You're a natural. You're a natural.